The signal from beyond. The transmission repeated endlessly through the grand chambers of the Galactic Conclave, the desperate voices of the Lumari echoing off ancient walls that had witnessed 1,000 years of peace. This is Colony Serenity. We are under attack. The Scourge has breached our outer settlements. They've taken everything. Please, anyone. We have no weapons, no defenses. Our children are dying. Help us. Ambassador Thelven stood motionless before the semicircular table where the 13 conclave elders sat in uncomfortable silence. His 4 slender arms were crossed against his chest in the traditional posture of supplication. The blue bioluminescent patterns across his pale skin pulsed with anxiety. "The message has been repeating for 5 standard cycles," he said, his melodic voice wavering. "The Scourge will have reached the central city by now." Elder Zivka, a massive gas dweller whose containment suit gleamed with precious metals, finally broke the silence. The Lumari knew the risks when they established a colony so far from protected space. "We sympathize with their plight, but our peacekeeping vessels would require 20 cycles to reach Serenity. By then." The elder didn't finish. He didn't need to. Thelven had expected this response. It was the same one he had received from every species he had approached over the past 5 days. The Mithril were in the midst of their sacred migration. The Velesian Cooperative had committed their ships to a diplomatic mission in another sector. The Ondari simply stated that their treaty obligations did not extend to unaffiliated colonies. "There is one possibility we haven't considered," Thelven said carefully. He had saved this option until last, knowing the reaction it would provoke. Earth. The chamber fell utterly silent. Even the environmental systems seemed to pause. The humans. Elder Zivka's translator could not fully convey the mixture of disbelief and horror in his voice. "You cannot be serious. Their system is only 8 light cycles from Serenity," Thelven pressed. "And they have ships. Fast ones. They come from a Class 12 death world." Elder Norai exclaimed, her crystalline form shimmering with agitation. "Do you understand what that means, Ambassador? Their planet actively tried to kill them throughout their entire evolution, and instead of dying like reasonable beings, they fought back and won. They are ape protection," Elder Norai scoffed. "Is that what they call it? They're sending a machine of death." Thelven looked down at his datapad where the simple human message still displayed. Just 2 lines. Direct. Efficient. No diplomacy. No hesitation. No questions asked. Simply, "We heard you. We're coming." "We should alert the Lumari," Thelven suggested. "Tell them help is coming." "Are we sure it is help?" asked Elder Zivka. "Perhaps we should clarify with Earth exactly what their intentions are." Admiral Voss shook his head. "The Harbinger has already departed Earth space at maximum velocity. They won't stop for clarification." Another aide entered and handed Voss a data crystal. The Admiral inserted it into the chamber's projector, and a holographic image appeared in the center of the room. It showed a ship unlike any the Conclave members had seen before. Sleek, matte black, with angular lines that somehow suggested both speed and menace. While other species designed their vessels to impress with grandeur or beauty, this ship was built with a single purpose in mind: to hunt. "This is the only known image of the Harbinger," Voss explained. "Taken during a joint exercise last cycle. Earth doesn't share specifications of their military vessels." "It looks predatory," whispered an elder. "Admiral," Elder Zivka said, "in your professional opinion, what exactly will happen when this ship reaches Serenity?" Voss studied the rotating image, his expression unreadable. "The humans have a saying. The most dangerous predator looks like prey until it's too late. The Scourge are about to learn what that means." In the background, the Lumari distress call continued its loop. "Please, anyone, help us." But now those words carried a different weight. Help was coming, but it wasn't the kind of help anyone had expected. As the conclave session ended, Thelven found himself wondering about the humans' response. Most species would have sent their diplomats, their healers, their most compassionate voices. The humans were sending their warriors. Thulvin wasn't sure if that made them monsters or heroes. Perhaps, he thought as he looked again at the image of the Harbinger, they were something else entirely, something the galaxy had no name for yet. But the Scourge would soon find out. Captain Alessandra Chen stood perfectly still on the bridge of the EDS Harbinger, hands clasped behind her back. Through the main viewport, she watched stars stretch into blue-white streaks as the ship tore through space at full burn. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of instruments and the occasional murmur of the crew at their stations. "Time to arrival?" Chen asked, her voice calm. 3 hours, 17 minutes, Captain, answered Lieutenant Park from the navigation station. "The Lumari distress signal is still broadcasting," added Communications Officer Rodriguez. "No change in the message." Chen nodded. 13 hours of travel at maximum speed had brought them to the edge of the Serene system. 13 hours during which the Scourge had continued their attack on a defenseless people. "Tactical display," ordered Commander Okafor, the first officer. The Nigerian-born officer activated the holographic projector in the center of the bridge. A three-dimensional map of the Serene system appeared, with the Lumari colony world glowing a soft blue at its center. Red triangles marked the positions of 8 Scourge vessels in orbit. "Their fleet is scattered," Okafor observed. "No defensive formation." "Why would they need one?" Chen said. "The nearest Conclave outpost is weeks away at their best speed." "But we're not from the Conclave," Okafor said with a small smile. "No," agreed Chen. "We're not." Dr. Abernathy, the ship's xenobiologist, entered the bridge with a datapad in her hand. Her white lab coat stood out against the dark gray uniforms of the bridge crew. "Captain, I've completed my analysis of the Lumari," Abernathy said. "They're even more vulnerable than we thought." Chen gestured for the scientist to continue. "The Lumari evolved on a world with minimal predation and almost no environmental hazards," Abernathy explained, displaying images of tall, slender beings with faintly glowing skin. Their bodies produce natural bioluminescence, and they're mildly telepathic within short ranges. "Telepathic?" Okafor asked, suddenly concerned. "Will they be reading our minds?" "Not exactly," Abernathy said. "They sense emotions and surface thoughts, but they can't access memories or secrets. It's more like feeling the shape of someone's intentions." "And what will they feel from us?" Chen asked quietly. Abernathy hesitated. "That's the problem, Captain. The Lumari have almost no concept of violence. When they sense our capacity for combat, our willingness to fight, it might terrify them as much as the Scourge do." Chen considered this information. "So we're going to rescue people who might be afraid of us, people who may not understand that we're trying to help." "Yes," Abernathy confirmed. "But there's something else. Their telepathy works both ways. When a Lumari is killed, all nearby Lumari feel it happen. The Scourge aren't just attacking them physically. They're causing psychological trauma with every death." The bridge fell silent as the crew processed this information. Chen's expression hardened. "Tell me about the Scourge," she said. Okafor adjusted the holographic display, bringing up images of various ships and alien beings. "The Scourge aren't a single species," Okafor explained. "They're outcasts and criminals from 24 different worlds who operate under one leader, Commander Vex." The display showed a massive, 6-limbed alien with scaled skin and eyes that gleamed with artificial implants. "Vex was once a biological weapons developer for the Torani Dominion," Okafor continued. "He was condemned to death for illegal experimentation on sentient beings. Instead of accepting his punishment, he escaped with several prototype weapons and a stolen warship." "Their tactics?" Chen asked. "They target developing worlds with valuable resources but limited defenses," Okafor replied. "They strip the planet of everything valuable: minerals, technology, art, people, and leave nothing behind. No witnesses, no consequences. Until now," Chen said quietly. The ship's navigator called out, "Preparing to enter the Serene System, Captain." "Battle stations," Chen ordered. Throughout the ship, lights dimmed to combat settings, and alert signals sounded. Crew members moved with practiced efficiency to their positions. "Activate stealth systems upon entry," Chen continued. "No emissions, no transmissions. I want us invisible until we choose to be seen." "Stealth systems ready," reported the tactical officer. "Entry in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The stretched stars suddenly snapped back to points of light as the Harbinger dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the very edge of the Serene System. The ship's experimental hull absorbed rather than reflected light, making it appear like a moving shadow against the stars. "Stealth systems active," confirmed the tactical officer. "We are running silent." "Long-range scanners," Chen ordered. The main view screen changed to show Serenity in detail. It was a beautiful world of azure oceans and emerald continents, but even from this distance, the crew could see dark plumes of smoke rising from several locations on the planet's surface. "Magnify," Chen said, her voice tight. The image zoomed in on one of the burning areas. It had once been a city, a collection of elegant crystal-like structures arranged in concentric rings. Now half of those structures were shattered or burning. Small shuttlecraft moved between the buildings, landing to collect goods and captives before taking off again. "Life signs?" Chen asked. "Thousands of Lumari life signatures concentrated in what appear to be containment areas," reported the sensor officer. "Scourge forces are moving through the city systematically." Chen studied the tactical display, noting the positions of all 8 Scourge ships. One vessel was currently separated from the others, positioned near the edge of the system. "On patrol duty," Chen murmured. She turned to Okafor. "First, we need information. Target the isolated patrol ship. Minimum power approach. Let's introduce ourselves." As the Harbinger glided silently through space toward the unsuspecting Scourge vessel, Chen opened a secure channel to the ship's marine detachment. "Major Santos, prepare your team for boarding action." "Already suited up, Captain," came the immediate reply. "Just point us at the target." Chen smiled slightly. Humans had waited generations to venture into the stars, only to discover a galaxy that viewed them with fear and suspicion. The Conclave had reluctantly admitted Earth to their ranks, but always kept humanity at arm's length. Too violent, too unpredictable, too different. But today, those differences would become an advantage. Today, the galaxy would learn why apex predators from a death world made the most dangerous protectors. The hunt was about to begin. Wrath of the Deathworlders. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Decimator, admiring the view of the burning Lumari city below. The operation was proceeding even more smoothly than anticipated. The pathetic luminescent creatures had offered no resistance whatsoever. They simply cowered and wept as his troops rounded them up. "Report," he demanded, turning to his second-in-command. "Resource extraction is at 70% completion," the officer replied. "Prisoner collection is proceeding on schedule. The most valuable specimens have been secured for your personal collection." Vex made a sound of satisfaction. The Lumari were known for their artistic creations and their rare ability to manipulate light into permanent crystalline structures. Such treasures would fetch astronomical prices in the black markets of the Outer Rim. And the Lumari themselves. Their organs alone would make this raid worthwhile. "Any word from the Unity patrol ship?" Vex asked. His second hesitated. They missed their last 2 check-ins. Vex's feeding tentacles twitched with irritation. "Incompetence. Send another ship tow." The bridge suddenly plunged into darkness. Emergency lighting flickered on seconds later, casting the command center in an eerie red glow. "What happened?" Vex demanded. "Unknown, Commander," his tactical officer replied, frantically working at his console. "We've lost all communication with the fleet. Our weapons systems are offline. Engines are not responding." "That's impossible," Vex snarled. "Run a diagnostic." "Sir," the sensor operator called out, voice wavering. "There's something out there. Something big." The main view screen flickered to life, showing nothing but stars. Then something moved. A shadow against the darkness, barely distinguishable except where it eclipsed the starlight behind it. "Magnify," Vex ordered. The image zoomed in on a vessel unlike any Vex had encountered in his long career of piracy. Sleek, angular with no visible weapons or engine ports, yet radiating menace in its very design. "Unknown vessel," Vex's communications officer called out. "It's broadcasting on all frequencies, audio only." "Let's hear it," Vex said. A calm, female voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect galactic standard. "Scourge vessel. This is Captain Alessandra Chen of the Earth Defense Ship Harbinger. You are engaged in acts of piracy, slavery, and murder against a peaceful colony. You have exactly one opportunity to surrender. Release all Lumari prisoners, withdraw your forces, and prepare to be boarded." Stunned silence filled the bridge. Then Vex began to laugh, a harsh, grating sound that made his subordinates flinch. "Earth," he said incredulously. "The primitive Deathworlders. One ship against our fleet." He gestured to his communications officer. "Open a channel." "Channel open." "Captain Chen," Vex said, savoring the alien name. "I am Commander Vex of the Scourge Armada. Perhaps you're unfamiliar with our reputation, but we don't surrender. We have 8 warships to your 1. You face overwhelming odds." The human's response came immediately. "Then it's a fair fight." Before Vex could respond, the transmission ended. His tactical officer suddenly cried out in alarm. "Commander, the Unity patrol ship. It just appeared in orbit. But it's wrong." The view screen shifted to show one of his own ships. As they watched, the vessel split open like a broken egg, debris and bodies spilling into space, and from within its shattered hull emerged a dozen small, matte-black craft, streaking toward the planet's surface. "Boarding pods," whispered someone on the bridge. Vex's feeding tentacles thrashed in fury. "Scramble all fighters. Shoot them down." But it was already too late. The pods had entered the atmosphere, leaving fiery trails as they plummeted toward the main Lumari city. "What of the human ship?" Vex demanded. "It's gone, sir," the sensor operator replied. "We can't locate it." Vex slammed a fist onto his command console. "Find it, and get our systems back online." Major Elena Santos felt the familiar surge of adrenaline as her drop pod punched through Serenity's atmosphere. Around her, 11 other pods carried her Marine unit, the best Special Forces operators Earth had to offer. "Deployment in 30 seconds, she announced over the tactical network. "Remember, our primary objective is civilian evacuation. Secondary objective is to secure the command center to facilitate Captain Chen's negotiations." A chorus of acknowledgments came through her helmet speakers. These weren't just soldiers. They were the elite of the elite, humans who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Aerial scans show approximately 200 hostiles in the Central District, Lieutenant Quan reported from his pod. Most are concentrated around the prisoner holding areas. "Any heavy weapons?" Santos asked. "Nothing our armor can't handle," Quan replied confidently. Santos smiled grimly. The Conclave worlds considered humanity backwards and primitive. What they failed to understand was that humans had never stopped preparing for war, even as they reached for the stars. Impact in 10 seconds, weapons free upon landing. Execute Operation Shepherd. The pod slammed into the ground with bone-jarring force, its outer shell absorbing most of the impact. Santos hit the release, and the sides blew outward. She emerged in her power armor, a 7-foot exoskeleton that amplified her strength and speed while providing formidable protection. The scene before her was chaos. Beautiful crystal buildings lay shattered, their fragments glittering in the streets. Fires burned unchecked. In the distance, she could see Scourge troops herding groups of tall, slender aliens with glowing skin. The Lumari. "Squad, form up," Santos ordered, her helmet systems automatically identifying her team as they emerged from their pods. "Bravo team, secure the perimeter." "Alpha with me. We're hitting the main detention area." The Marines moved with practiced precision, their armor allowing them to cover ground with startling speed. They encountered their first Scourge patrol less than a minute later. 6 alien mercenaries escorting a group of captive Lumari. The Scourge spotted them and raised their weapons, but the humans were faster. Santos fired her railgun, the hypervelocity projectile punching through the lead alien's armor as if it were paper. The rest of her team opened fire, and in seconds, all 6 mercenaries lay dead. The Lumari captives stood frozen, their luminescent patterns flashing rapidly in what Santos' xenobiology training identified as extreme distress. She approached slowly, her armor's external speakers activating. "We're from Earth," she said in Galactic Standard. "We're here to help. You're safe now." One of the Lumari, taller than the others, with intricate patterns of blue light flowing across its skin, stepped forward hesitantly. "You killed them," it said, its voice melodic and strangely calming despite the obvious fear. "So quickly, without hesitation." "Yes," Santos replied simply. "They were hurting you. We stopped them." The Lumari's glow pulsed in what might have been confusion. "You are warriors." "We're Marines," Santos corrected. "And we're getting you out of here. Can you lead others to safety?" The tall Lumari seemed to consider this, then nodded. "I am Elder Kaita. I will guide my people. But there are many more being held in the central plaza." "That's where we're headed," Santos assured it. "Stay behind us." As her team moved toward the plaza, Santos received an update from the Harbinger. "Major, Captain Chen sends word that the Scourge flagship has been neutralized. Their systems are offline, and the rest of the fleet is in disarray. The Harbinger is engaging 2 vessels that attempted to flee." "Acknowledged," Santos replied. "Tell the captain we've made contact with the Lumari and are proceeding with evacuation." When they reached the edge of the central plaza, Santos held up her fist, signaling the team to halt. Before them lay a devastating scene. Hundreds of Lumari were confined in makeshift pens, their glow dimmed with fear and exhaustion. Dozens of Scourge troops patrolled the area, some loading captives onto transport shuttles. "I count at least 80 hostiles," Lieutenant Quan reported. 2 heavy weapons emplacements at the north and south entrances. Santos assessed the situation. A frontal assault would risk civilian casualties, but they didn't have time for a more subtle approach. "Plan thunderclap," she decided. "Quan, Rodriguez, take your fire teams and flank those gun emplacements. Coordinate your strikes. Everyone else, prepare smoke and flash grenades. On my mark, we create chaos and extract the prisoners." The Marines moved into position. Santos opened her comm to Elder Kaita. "When we attack, tell your people to get down and stay down. Once the area is secure, lead them to the gathering point we establish." Elder Kaita's glow pulsed in acknowledgement. "Your minds, they burn with such purpose, such violence. Yet I sense no malice, only protection." Santos nodded. "That's what humans do. We protect." She raised her hand, then dropped it sharply. "Execute." What followed would later be described by surviving Scourge prisoners as fighting ghosts. The Marines struck from multiple directions simultaneously, their smoke grenades filling the plaza with impenetrable fog. Through this murk moved armored figures, visible only by the flash of their weapons and the trail of bodies they left behind. The Scourge fought back furiously, but their weapons, designed to intimidate and control unresisting populations, proved ineffective against Earth military armor. The engagement lasted less than 4 minutes. When the smoke cleared, not a single Scourge soldier remained standing. Santos moved among the Lumari pens, using her armor's enhanced strength to tear open the barriers. The captives emerged cautiously, their skin patterns cycling through colors that Santos' systems couldn't interpret. "Elder Kaita," she called, "we've secured the area. Begin evacuation." As the Lumari organized themselves, Santos received another communication from the Harbinger. "Major, we've captured Commander Vex. Captain Chen requests your presence at the negotiations." In what remained of the Lumari governance chamber, Captain Chen sat across from Commander Vex. The Scourge leader was bound but defiant, his feeding tentacles writhing with barely suppressed rage. "You've made a terrible mistake," Vex hissed. "The Scourge has allies throughout the Outer Rim. They will hunt you down for this insult." Chen regarded him calmly. "No, they won't, because there is no more Scourge." She activated a holographic display showing the space above Serenity. Where once 8 Scourge vessels had orbited, now there were only floating debris fields. The Harbinger hung in orbit, its true form finally visible, sleek, deadly, and utterly dominant. "Your fleet has been neutralized," Chen continued. "Your ground forces eliminated. Your reputation ended." Vex stared at the display in disbelief. "Impossible. One ship couldn't." "One Earth ship," Chen corrected him. "There's a difference." Major Santos entered the chamber, her armor still bearing the scars of battle. She removed her helmet, revealing a face that, while human, held an expression Vex had never seen before, not bloodlust or battle frenzy, but something more controlled, more focused, more terrifying. "The Lumari are secure," Santos reported. "We've treated their wounded and begun repairs to critical infrastructure. They're asking to meet with you, Captain." Chen nodded. "And our casualties?" 3 wounded, no fatalities." Vex made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a choke. 3 wounded, against my entire force. What manner of creatures are you?" Chen turned back to him. "We are humans. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day of our evolution, where everything, the air, the water, the land, the animals, was designed to end us. And do you know what we did?" She leaned forward slightly. "We said no. We refused to die. We adapted. We overcame. We became the most dangerous species on a planet full of killers." She stood, and then we looked to the stars and found a galaxy of beings who had never known that struggle, who had never needed to develop the capacity for violence that we carry within us. And we made a choice. "To conquer?" Vex asked. "To protect," Chen replied. "Because sometimes, Commander Vex, the universe needs predators, not to hunt the innocent, but to hunt those who would hunt them." The doors to the chamber opened, and a delegation of Lumari entered, led by Elder Kaita. The Elder approached cautiously, its glow now a calm, steady blue. "Captain Chen," it said, "my people wish to extend our deepest gratitude. We would not have survived another day without your intervention." Chen bowed slightly. "The people of Earth are honored to have been of assistance. We only regret we couldn't arrive sooner." "You are not what we expected," Elder Kita admitted. "The Conclave speaks of humans with fear. They call you violent, unpredictable. We can be those things," Chen acknowledged, "but only when necessary, only in defense of those who cannot defend themselves." Elder Kita's glow pulsed thoughtfully. "Perhaps this is why the universe produced beings like you. Perhaps balance requires both creators and destroyers." "Not destroyers," Chen corrected gently. "Protectors." "Yes," Elder Kita agreed. "It's light-brightening. I believe we understand now. The Lumari would like to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. We have much to learn from each other." Chen smiled. "We would be honored." As the Lumari delegation conferred among themselves, Chen glanced at Santos. "Send word to Earth," she said quietly. "Mission accomplished. And tell them to prepare for diplomatic visitors." "Should we also notify the Conclave?" Santos asked. Chen's smile took on a hint of satisfaction. "Oh, I think they already know. And I suspect our invitation list just got a lot longer." Throughout the vastness of space, Word spread quickly of what had happened at Serenity, of how a single Earth ship had decimated a pirate fleet that had terrorized the Outer Rim for decades, of how human Marines had fought with a precision and ferocity that defied comprehension. In the grand chambers of the Galactic Conclave, Ambassador Thelven watched as members who had once whispered about the primitive Deathworlders now spoke quietly about potential defensive alliances. Fear remained, but it was tempered now with something new: respect. The galaxy was changing. The humans had arrived, and they had proven themselves to be neither conquerors nor savages. They were something far more complex: predators who used their teeth not to devour, but to defend. The hunters from Earth had found their purpose among the stars, and the hunters were just getting started.